What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I want to talk about cards and cards as an asset class. And before we get into all this stuff, this is not financial advice. This is just looking at the ecosystem. And the reason I say it's not financial advice is because I always say that I don't look at cards as quote unquote investments because cards themselves are an inflationary asset class. But just because I don't look at them as an asset class or as an investment, this is not meant to be investment or financial advice. All I'm trying to point to is how there's a ton of cards in circulation right now, and we are going to continue to print more with each new reward set, with each new promo set, with each new core set that comes out. So I'm here on Peak Monsters, and I have everything selected, right? So all editions, all sets selected. And what we can see here is if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you have regular circulating in this column and then gold circulating, right? So you got the cards and then the total number of BCX. I don't care about the number of BCX, although that will come into play at a certain point. I do care about the number of cards in each of these. And if we scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see here that we have 47.5 million regular BCX cards and then just under 5 million here. So, you know, in total, this is like 52.5 million cards that are currently in circulation. Now, when you think about land, if land were to get utilized completely, right, all 150,000 plots using 5 monsters, what is that? I believe I know what it is already, but let's open up the calculator just in case. Just because my math has always been fuzzy in the past. About 150,000 monsters, or 150,000 times 5 is 750,000 monsters. 750,000 cards when we have 52 million in circulation, right? Now, I know there's a lot of these cards are low-level cards. They need to be combined. And you know, looking at the cards, like a lot of them have been combined, right? This is 47 million BCX versus almost 200 million BCX, or 47 million cards versus 200 million BCX. And we're taking into account obviously everything, right? But let's say, I mean, I don't know, I haven't even looked at this, but let's say we only look at legendary cards, for example, right? Because legendary gives the biggest boost. Well, with legendary cards, there's still a million, right? A million, we'll call it 1.1 million, including gold legendary cards, right? That are all just out there. So what's my point with this? The broader thing that I'm trying to get at is I do think we're going to need other syncs for cards aside from land. Now, I know there's tower defense coming out, but I would actually consider doing something or proposing something to burn cards and have a purpose for burning the cards. Now, one of the ideas that I threw out in a recent live stream, and or I've seen other folks throw out for like promo sets or upcoming core sets or things like that, is the idea of like burning cards for to help stem the inflation from newer cards that are coming into the ecosystem. So, you know, ultimately, whether we do something like that, there's opportunities, I think, with guilds. There could even be opportunities with land in the future, but on the whole, right? Like we're sitting at like 50 million cards, and you know, we're only going to be using 750,000 of them. Now, I understand land is not the only part of the game. There's still a ton of players, or I should call them accounts. There's still a ton of accounts that are actually using these cards in game. But understand that we are going to continue to get more and more cards. If you just look at the rest of this year, for example, by the end of 2022, by the end of 2023. Let's assume that Riftwatcher sells out. I mean, there's another, 2 million packs, 5 cards each. That's another 10 million cards that are going to come into circulation. Again, it's not really 10 million because a lot of those will be combined in BCX, but still, I'm just giving you the raw numbers here. But that's probably the smallest, because you think about the fact that there could be a potential promo set coming out sometime over the summer or in Q3. And then, of course, there is Rebellion, which if you imagine that Rebellion could be as big or potentially even bigger than Chaos Legion. I mean, the amount of cards that we're going to have is just crazy. So I do look at land as a significant card sink. It is putting your cards to work, and there will be opportunities there. But from a burning standpoint, I think that would help to create the scarcity that we all need. So I'll do a separate video on the idea that I had, because I think I want to massage it a little bit more, right? But ultimately, it's taking into account how many cards there are out there, right? And sorry, let's actually go back to not legendary, but everything. And once again, we see here the 52 million, right? So what other potential sinks could there be? Well, tower defense is one, right? Land is one, but I really think there's an opportunity with guilds to not just do monster staking, but actually potential burns, right? I mean, do some like weird, like sacrificial altar or something like that. That allows people now here's the thing. When you start burning these cards, that will inflate DEC a little bit, but we're talking specifically about cards here, and the amount of DEC that will come from burning a ton of cards, I don't believe is going to be too much. But then again, that's another factor we need to think about. But when I think about the other opportunities, it's tower defense, land, and then, in my opinion, potential new cards, new sets, whether they're promo cards, whether it's core sets, that require the burning of previous cards in order to unlock them. So they could even be special like reward cards or promo cards. And that's kind of where my idea was going with it, right? Where in order to do that, we need to find and start removing out of circulation some of the cards that we never really use, that are just kind of sitting there. And if we go over here to the market, once again, we have cards that are on the market for a penny. Right? So even with all the land hype, even with all the whales collecting all of these cards, all of these reward cards are still back down to a penny. I mean, even the Pelacor class, right? So ultimately, I'm just thinking through this, and I'm trying to crowdsource some ideas here for what we could potentially do in the long run. But I do think that finding creative ways to add value in the game, and burning cards while doing so, are things that could be are things that could help regulate the supply over time. And one thing that I'll leave you with, and we'll close the video out with this, is Aggie in the past has said that he wants the game to be so diverse with so many different cards that nobody should have the same collection, right? People should be collecting different cards, collecting different things within the game in order to then battle and not have the same thing, right? It's really just with Chaos Legion and how dominant Chaos Legion was when it came out. I think it was 80 to 85% of all cards when Chaos Legion first came out that were Chaos Legion cards. And so in Modern, for example, probably 90+% of the decks were just maxed Chaos cards. And then, the other 10% would be people that had a lot of the older Untamed cards. So ultimately, when I think through this and what it could be, there's opportunities in the future, and I hope that we can get creative. So let me know if you have any ideas. Like I said, I'll save my idea for a future video because I want to think about it a little bit more and actually design it and potentially even put it forth as a proposal for the next kind of Vruz promo that we do. But that's kind of where my head is at, and I'm hopeful that we can come together and find ways. Again, I don't know if it's going to be this year, but I hope that we can implement something before the end of 2023, simply because we're about to get a ton more cards, right? We're about to get a ton more cards, and I would love to use up a lot of these older cards in a way that makes sense, gets them off the market, and for people who are holding all of these, older reward cards, make them scarce. Like let's truly make them scarce, because there's too many of them out in the ecosystem right now. We have 50,000. We're down to 50,000 playing accounts, and check it out. There's like 1.4 million Gargoyle Lions. There's 700,000 of these older reward cards, right? So there's still a ton, and I know land is going to come up and eat a lot, but I don't think land, at least not initially, is going to be enough. So finding creative ways in other areas of the game, guilds, tower defense, new sets, who knows, new game modes, we'll see. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you on the next one and see you around the game. Take care.